Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the 20 podcast. I'm Karl, Levy, host, and on to my right is the lovely Douglas Horne. Good evening, Doug.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, good to be back after the international break, and yeah, looking forward to the show because it's been another fabulous weekend in the Premier League.
It has been, yeah, even though that international break was a drag, and for most of the teams, not gonna lie, but I'm glad we got some action back, and then we got to do another international break in a couple of weeks' time in November, and that's done for a while because it'll stop and start, but we at least we're gonna have a continuous league games coming up in the next couple of months as well till the match. So yeah, at least we're back on and do what we need to do as our best. So as we said, we'll talk about all the results this past weekend, including everything, with what the Northwest Derby. Haaland is in good form again. He's broken another record. He's now in double figures in less than 10 games. We'll talk about the sacking of Ange Postecoglou, who lost his job against Chelsea on Saturday, and Sean Dyche come in. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Sunderland's impressive run as well, and also the battle of the promoted sides between Burnley and Leeds United, and also Monday night's game between West Ham and Brentford. So let's now get into the show. Let's get over to the first game of the fixture, and we'll have to say it's been since 2016, Man United since won at Anfield until Sunday when Harry Maguire headed in the 83rd minute to give Man United first Anfield in 9 years after the one day, and the goal scored by Brian Mbemo in the first 2 minutes of the game. Cody Gakpo scored the equaliser later on in the second half until Maguire headed it from across to give Man United the first back-to-back win under Ruben Amorim as well. Doug, let's talk about Liverpool. 4 defeats in a row. What is going on? And does it feel like a pattern? Something's, like you said for a while, something's not being right altogether at Anfield.
I don't think it's been right really since February. Um, I think during that sort of run, you were a bit fortunate, sort of getting like wins under our belts, and obviously we had the Carabao Cup defeat as well to Newcastle, but I can't really put my head on it really. Like against Manchester United, fair play to them. They deserved their win. They should have easily been about two or three up at half time. Had Bruno Fernandes got his shooting boots on any sort of other side to that post that he hit, then obviously it's 2-0. And I think going back from that, it's probably a long, long way back. But um, look, I'm going to say this now. I going to say the decision to allow the first goal, I can understand from a point of view that it was a head injury, but I think you sort of play to the whistle, and obviously Michael Oliver has obviously missed that bit. I'm not going to really take away from the fact that we should defend the cross better. I think Van Dijk should defend it better as well. It literally allows Mbeumo to basically run through to get that ball from Amad Diallo, who I thought had a very good game as well. And then all of a sudden, like, it was basically us. Gakpo had one of those games. It was like he basically hit the post three times. Um, Isak had a chance. I've got to say that the goalkeeper for Manchester United, Sen Lamons, I thought he was very good. They look like they've got a proper goalkeeper now, which makes it quite sad to say because I've not been convinced with Bayindir. Definitely not convinced with Onana as well. So they've obviously got that as well. But the more the game went on, I had a feeling we would probably get the equaliser. But Salah's not been in form. I think that the worrying thing for me is it's been a continuation of 4 games in a row where we've lost. And if we're being honest, 4 games where we haven't really deserved it. I thought Manchester United deserved to win on Sunday. Um, and I think that the one thing I would say, the one happy player I think you would have to say for is Harry Maguire, because he has gone through a lot of stick since
Yeah,
his Manchester United move. Um, and ultimately, I think that's the biggest win of Ruben Amorim's tenure as Manchester United manager. I think it has to be said. But I think people are very happy with Harry Maguire to score that. But I want to see changes in the Champions League. I want to see changes at Brentford on Saturday tea time. Um, I don't want to see Chiesa on the bench. I want him to start now. I think it's the safest thing to say. I think Ekiteke has to start now as well. And I think you've got to probably start Verts. The thing is, none of the new signings, apart from Hugo Ekiteke, I would say have like really sort of settled in. Um, and continuation as well. We haven't had a settled back four. Right back it's either been Connor Bradley, it's been Jeremy Frimpong, or it's been Dominic Soboslai and some of those as well. But I'm taking nothing away from Manchester United. Thoroughly deserved win. And yeah, they'll definitely enjoy that. And I've got to say, they looked a little bit better without Sesko. I looked at that front three that played against us, and Matheus Cunha always has a good game against Liverpool. Always seems to have a good game. He caused us a real few problems. Obviously Mason Mount I think has had a very good start to his season as well, and obviously Brian and Burma, who along with Cunha and Lamons, they are probably their best signings of the summer so far.
Yeah, absolutely. The question with Liverpool, and there's a question of with Mo Salah. I know there's been a lot of people saying probably this is should Mo Salah be dropped now, especially when it comes to to away games, more like going forward. Do you think there's a time now that they have to drop Mo Salah, especially he can't play to what his levels he could be now? Is he now losing the drop off that he had last season?
This was a worry when we gave him a new contract, whether he would sort of be able to keep up to his sort of same sort of records, really. Um, he looked non-existent again against Manchester United. Obviously, had that chance that he should have buried. So that's what City he should absolutely bury that. But um, as far as sort of saying this, I don't want to see him start the next two games. He has to be benched for one of them. He was benched against Galatasaray, so maybe he's benched for Frankfurt, or maybe he starts in Frankfurt actually. Maybe he's sort of benched for Brentford. I don't know. I've got to say though, not doing any of excuses or anything like that, but he's definitely been the most affected by Diogo Jota's passing. I think you can quite clearly see he's not the same Mo Salah this season,
Yeah.
and I think it is definitely sort of affecting us a lot. I am also actually questioning whether the departure of Johnny Heitinga has kind of affected the the sort of the patterns of play recently as well. Um,
I would have thought that, but I did think of one other player that's is Trent Alexander Arnold. Is that affected
yeah,
because there's no one there's because now Conor Bradley there's no one on the right side who's more affected than Trent over the last decade or so. Is that been a huge effect as well because of not having the services of Trent on that right hand side?
we look just slow, turgid through our main sort of midfield, and obviously Gravenberg is now out of the Frankfurt game, which is an absolute blow. So hopefully he'll be back for Brentford. But I think Salah is being affected sadly by the sort of the continuation of being sort of changed with Connor Bradley, with Jeremy Frimpong, with Dominic Soboslai. They've not when Trent was there, it was obviously always Trent and Salah down that right. But I think now you're seeing loads of players now being sort of changed into that right back position. So it's definitely gonna have an effect on him for sure, but definitely not the old Mo Salah, let's just say. But he's been in periods like this before, and I am confident that he can get out of it for sure. And hopefully, Isak and Virch start to get the ground running very very soon. Once it clicks, it will click. I think this is the thing when we played Manchester United in the 7-0, everything went in that day. Everything went in. Everything we basically touched turned to goal, basically. against Manchester United on Sunday. Look, we hit the bar, we hit the cross, we hit the post 3 or 4 times. We hit the crossbar as well. On another day, you look back at the stats. Yes, probably Manchester United definitely deserved the win overall during the sort of the play through the midfield. But I think on chances alone, yes, you probably say Liverpool probably could and probably should have maybe got 3 points, maybe a point as well. But as I said, take nothing away from Manchester United, thoroughly deserve the win.
Yeah, absolutely. For the Red Devils certainly deserve the win altogether. The first win at Anfield since 2016. Yeah, they've broken that streak finally after the last couple of results at Anfield. That's been dreadful for them with losing 7 or 8-0 the past couple of years. At least that streak is broken. So hopefully, Man U will kick on and we'll see the guy Frank, the Man United fans' hair at some point in the next couple of games get cut after he's been glued for over a year.
Yeah, well, I think they're up against one of their bogey sides very soon in Brighton, so that's going to be a big test because as we will come on to Brighton, but they're in very good form at the moment.
They are in very good form at the moment. Let's move on to the next game, Doug.
Yeah, Arsenal managed to get a win, ground out again. I would have to say, but it's a very good 3 points, and again, it's a place where they did struggle last season, but they did get the 1-0 win. But I think the more the game went on, Carl, you could kind of see Arsenal were definitely going for that win. Not the best of games, I've got to say, but Trossard does the business for Arteta's man.
Trossard did the business again for Arteta and for Arsenal, and it was a good. The grind that they do not care about how good the result is. It's more about performance, how to keep a clean sheet. I think clean sheet is vital, if especially you're invited to win the Premier League title. It's a big season for Arteta. He has to win the title now. If like I said, with Liverpool losing on Sunday and ahead of the Arsenal game on Saturday evening, that was a huge win for the Gunners completely. And I think there's a bit of confidence at the team, despite Gyökeres has not been scoring as much. They have got the players around them who can make that difference. And Trossard, who was late to move away this past summer, he comes to effect again. And that's why the reason why Arsenal kept him for the reason they extended his contract. So yeah, good win for Arsenal. I think for Fulham, they were a bit toothless. I think that's been their probably it's gonna be up and down there. It's gonna be one of their downfalls most of the season as well because I know Marco Silva is in his last year of his contract, and I know he was linked to the Nottingham Forest job beforehand,
Mm.
and like I said, it's quite like I say, it was double whammy this weekend because it was a battle of the owners between Shard Khan, the owner of Fulham, and Stan Kroenke of Arsenal, because both of the end of this respective NFL teams came over this weekend. Kroenke's LA Rams won against Jacksonville Jaguars, so it was a double win for both, not just the football but for NFL, for the Kroenke family completely. Beat the Cans. Finally, they have done that. So, but in a way, I think Fulham was a little bit toothless. I think it's lacking creativity, especially with the injuries they have at the moment. They miss players, especially
Yeah.
John King has to play up front as a false nine. So yeah, it's a bit slow for Fulham, especially they didn't have the best transfer window this summer of not buying a lot of players that they needed to replace, that they needed to bring in to really kickstart the season after their good finish to the end last season for them. But good win for the Gunners, and like I said, it boosts their credentials. Are they going to be the real winners of the Premier League? Time will tell.
Yeah, time will definitely tell. There was an incident in the second half where Kevin brings down Bukayo Saka. Now, penalty was given by Anthony Taylor to begin with, but he was ordered to the monitor because VAR obviously seen that Kevin did get the ball. However, it does look like he has gone through Saka to get the ball. So what did you make of that decision? Did you think it was a penalty, or did you think Anthony Taylor got the right call?
It's a hard one to say. I would have stuck with the original decision. It was a penalty because it did go through. I would have stuck with the original decision. I was a bit surprised about that because I thought, where Kevin, yes, he did get the ball, but the way Saka did get, he did foul, commit to foul Saka as well. I thought it should have been a penalty, and I think it's a hard one to say with that one, because like I said, you have to, I thought he would have stuck to his original decision, but when you go to the monitor, very rarely you change the decision. So, was it the right call? Time will tell with that one. If that scenario happens again with
Mm.
another team, then I think it might have to be to stick with the original decision with the penalty.
Yeah, no, I think it was. I think in the end, I think Saka wasn't happy. I think you could quite clearly see he wasn't too happy. But um, I do have a question for you actually, Eze. Where is his best position? Because it seems to me that Mikel Arteta doesn't seem to get the best out of Eberici Eze yet. He's been played left, he's been played right, he's been played through in that sort of that number 10 role. Where is his best position for you?
It's a tough one. I always thought he's more better on the wing. I've always been more on the better on the wing, mainly the left wing. That was what he was about. He was brought in for because Saka would play on the right. But if they rotate but more Saka's more better on the right. I would say he's more better on the left wing. I thought I was his best position,
Mm,
to be quite honest with you. And he likes to play. He likes a free roll where he can play off the striker as well. He's more better on the left wing side, and that's probably why it's taking a bit of time for Arteta to get where his best position is because, like you said, it's brought Madueke in as well. You got Martinelli and Trossard as well. So it's a battleground where you play these players, and I think it's gonna be interesting where his balance is going to be, but I think he's more better on the left. That's always been his suitability when I've watched him at Palace and at Millwall. So I would have thought he would
mm.
be more stick on the left, but he can play centrally as well too. So but I think that place might have to be given to Odegaard when he comes back from his injury because I think he's more better attacking Odegaard up in the midfield than playing with Zubimendi and Rice in the mid three. So I think Eze is more better on in the wings on the left, more predominantly on the left.
Are they now the favourites for the title?
I think they are now. I think they are. I think they're with a good start to the season. I think there's pressure now for Arteta. Like I said just moments ago, they are. This season is important for them to have to win the Premier League. You can't spend over £1 billion and then you're not won the trophy. It is when you're not
Yeah,
won a trophy since you joined the club in 2020, you won the FA Cup during the COVID season. The time is now for the Gunners to really capitalize on where Liverpool's struggling at the moment.
absolutely. It's a big, big 3 points for Arsenal. It takes them 4 points clear of the champions.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go to the big news that happened on Saturday. Yes, Chelsea did beat Nottingham Forest 3-0, but it was the end of the road for Big Ange. He got sacked after 20 minutes after the final whistle. And Doug, in a way, you could see this was coming soon. Other than Sam Allardyce last season, the season before, a couple of seasons before at Leeds United, he was the shortest Premier League reign at 30 days, but because he was on an end of the year contract, you could say that Ange is now broken at record as the most permanent manager that has, after 39 days in the job. And you knew it was coming, but we didn't know when. And you could see the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, leaving his seat after 66 minutes. And he made that decision. And Big Ange did do his press conference, and the news broke, like I said, after 20 minutes after the final whistle.
Yeah, it was a brutal circumstances, wasn't it? Look, I thought Nottingham Forest played well in that first half. They kind of dominated Chelsea a little bit, I thought, but again, really without really sort of threatening Robert Sanchez and Chelsea's goal. Um, that second half just fell apart completely. When I look at Nottingham Forest under Ange, they've been really, really poor, really, really poor. Obviously got that draw against Burnley earlier in the season, but apart from that, I think they lost every single game after that. It was just really, really shocking. But I think as well, it was a really strange appointment for me.
Yeah.
The fact that obviously the half Greek obviously connection between Marinakis and Postecoglou, you can quite understand it. But um, trust me, I think Nottingham Forest are in a relegation battle this season.
Yeah,
As much as it's sort of, people would probably not like to sort of admit it, but Nuno was the catalyst of how well they played last season. And look at what's happened. He's obviously gone. They brought in another manager, obviously in Postecoglou. That's not worked. They've obviously got rid of him now. They've got three managers now this season. Now, Sean Dyche, look, he will keep you up. He will definitely keep you up. But the fact is, first game's against Porto in the Europa League. That is going to be very very interesting. Um, what I will say, Chelsea didn't really have to play well. It was
no,
quite an easy win in the second half. Obviously, I think obviously Neto got the pick of the goals. Great free kick. It does go under Matt Sells.
yeah,
Obviously, Reece James got the third, but another red card for Chelsea. Malo Gusto with two silly yellow cards that got him red carded. I mean, I did say to you earlier this season that Chelsea do have a bit of a disciplinary problem, but I think that's their fifth red card in the last 6 games.
yeah. It's a huge worry at the moment. I don't, and Chelsea's always been not been the best disciplined team. They've always had that streak in them, but to see a lot more regularly in the last couple of weeks, that is, yeah, it's surprising that this Enzo Maresca has not stamped it down because, especially, when you lose key players like that, you have to, what else is going to happen? There's another player gets a red card. It's a huge worry for Chelsea, and I think Gusto didn't need launching the charge for the second yellow card. He didn't need to. He could have just you could have just let it go and actually just try to stop before trying to get the cross in. But he did it so early, and it was a reckless tackle.
Yeah, it was. It was a reckless tackle, but another win for Chelsea, and slowly sort of going under the radar slightly for me, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Obviously, time will tell. Obviously, I think obviously got Champions League this week as well, and then obviously got Sunderland to visit. I think it's Stamford Bridge on
Yes.
Saturday.
Yep. They do. So yeah, another huge game for the Blues after getting that win as well, and especially for Sean Dyche, his first game against Porto this week is going to be a very tough
Mm,
one as well. So he's going to have to, improve a lot of a lot of that style of play sooner than later if they want to stay up this season.
yeah. What do you think of the appointment?
Phew, it's not surprising, especially with his connections as a young player there. You know, you're always gonna, if a team like that is in a relegation situation, you're gonna go for Sean Dyche no matter what. I know they were linked to Mancini, Spalletti as well. I thought to myself, yeah, you're not gonna get those players, you're not gonna get those kind of managers in, but I think it was always gonna be Dyche from day one. And I did kind of say it as well, no matter what, he was always gonna go in, especially after he's been off for a while since he got the sack at Everton last season as well. So it's gonna be interesting if he can really get that team to grind out the results for the next remain couple of months to fight for them to stay up this season.
Yeah, 100%. But a very good win for Chelsea on the road, and yeah, easy win for them. 3-0 against Forest.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, and they had to wait. They had to wait for it, but Erling Holland at the double yet again. Man City 2, Everton nil. But do Everton have a bit of feel a bit aggrieved really to go away with 0 points in this game? Because I actually thought they played really well. Beto had the chance to put Everton ahead. Obviously, I think Njai had a shot that was well saved by Donnarumma. Garner had one in the second half as well. But I've been quite impressed with Everton this season. Obviously, missed Jack Grealish, obviously because of the not being able to play against his parent club. But signs were there for Everton, I thought.
Yeah, the signs were there for the Toffees on Saturday. They had very good chances to win. I don't get when you can't play against your original club because in Spain that's different. You can play against your club anyway in La Liga. I'm surprised the Premier League is still to this day still has that rule, but like I
Mm,
said, like I said, Everton had such good chances. I thought Beto had a chance, to with a little shot, and he just went wide, why when the ball was crossed in from a low cross, but City capitalized on it, and like I said, but Everton could have got a goal out of there and even lost by a goal, and I would have still be happy with the performance. I think David Moyes has done a good job, especially with the start to the season they needed to have actually, because yes, moving to the Hill Dickinson Stadium was vital, but getting the players that need to bring in. Yes, it's still a bit short on one or two players, but I think they're going in the right direction completely. But for Man City, especially with Haaland's first goal, actually, where I think Michael Keane did not mark it proper, and I think the way Haaland analysed it when I saw it, he knew that the ball was going to be crossed in, and knew that if that he will be like 2-3 yards away from Keane and got the head of the first goal. I think to get into double figures again before 10 games is another incredible achievement. That's the third time he's done it in a row now, and
yeah,
I'm very so. How many records he's going to break, I do not know.
that's extraordinary. That's absolutely extraordinary what he's doing. But I still say it, Carl. I think Donnarumma is going to be the difference of City win the league or not because he just seems to be the last line of defence. He seems to be really really good.
Yeah,
And I think as well he was a signing that they needed. They needed a goalkeeper like that because Ederson was getting on a wee bit. They've obviously got Ortega, who, let's be honest, or Stefan Ortega is a very good goalkeeper, but I don't think he's quite up to getting sort of that number two. Obviously got James Trafford as well. So, I think when you look at Manchester City, they will be there or thereabouts. Maybe not quite there yet, because I still think they do miss something in that side, but they are playing very very good football at the moment. It will all depend on how sort of well they do sort of against the big clubs as well.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, I do as well. Especially they got Liverpool in a couple of weeks' time as well. I think
mm,
which is vital. But I think, like I said, Donnarumma could be the difference. Will be the difference maker. And I have put him in my fancy team now. And I think, I think there's. I don't think I can go against some of the City players I could choose, but I've chosen most of the Arsenal players because they're in the right form at the moment. But I would keep an eye on Man City's squad as well, especially with their results coming as well too. So yeah, it's vital. It's absolutely vital. They keep going, and like I said, Donnarumma probably will be deciding the season if the Man City win the title.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Uh, Danny Welbeck scoring the double after this weekend after Brighton beat Newcastle 2-1. Danny Welbeck, Nick Voldemar got the transfer, but no defeat for Eddie House. Man, and Doug, in a way, um, a good win for Brighton. Do you think Danny Welbeck should be considered for the next England squad in the next World Cup qualifiers?
He's certainly putting himself in an risk potentially. Um, the only thing that really would sort of worry me is that doesn't start many games. I've noticed there seems to be sort of Jorginho, which obviously started on Saturday, but Danny Welbeck is a goal scorer. Always has been in the Premier League. He is a real goal scorer. Um, obviously got a double at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. Obviously got a double against Newcastle as well. 34 years of age. He's a great wee player, Danny Welbeck. He always has been, and as I said, he is a goal scorer. But I think what kind of worries me with him is he's no starting many games, and that would be the only reason that I don't think he would probably get into the England squad. Because you've got a plethora of talent there, if we're being honest. But um, he's the kind of guy that you probably want to come as a super sub almost.
Yeah,
Um, but whether he does or doesn't is another matter. Look, I've got to say, from looking at Brighton, people have been questioning Fabian Herzler. Probably rightly so, because they are very inconsistent. But the one thing you will get with Brighton is that they will do well. They will do well in certain games. And in this game, probably should have been out of sight, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
Obviously Welbeck got that opening goal. Ayari, I think, had one that just went wide. And then obviously Voltemada does what Voltemada does best. Nick Voltemada, who has been unbelievable since he's signed for Newcastle. So another very good player there as well. And great finish. Lovely, great wee flick. But Brighton do what Brighton do best, and that is at home and get the 3 points when Welbeck expertly put cool finish past Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal. But Newcastle, it's another defeat. I think they've had good performances, but they're not getting results, and that's the worry for me if you're a Newcastle fan. And obviously they look forward to Jose Mourinho coming to St James's Park on I think it's either tonight or tomorrow. I think it is. So very, very interesting couple of games ahead for Newcastle. But Brighton, as I said at the show, they are going to Old Trafford on Saturday, and that will be a big test. But they have won on the last two visits there, so they'll be full of confidence for sure.
yeah, they're absolutely full of confidence. Especially Brighton go to play against Man United this week as well, so they'll be full of confidence as well. Let's move on to the next game at the Stadium of Light.
Yes, well, we will hear from our very, very good friend, Mr. Michael Bowers, after Sunderland got another home victory. And I've got to say, I keep messaging my uncle. Anytime they basically win, it's the points basically go down. So I've been basically messaging him. Oh, like 33 points to go, 30 points to go. It's obviously 26 points to go until that magical 40. But yeah, let's hear what Michael Bowers had to say after another fantastic victory for Sunderland.
Thank you very much to Karl and to Doug for the 20 for having me on again. Yeah, it was not a bad weekend for us, was it? Not just for the fact that Danny Welbeck turned himself into an absolute legend at the weekend, but all joking aside, Sunderland 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. And I think that, and Karl will be able to probably answer this a bit as well, because obviously Leeds played Wolves a few weeks back. But it looks to me particularly why they seem to be down where they are, because I feel like in the second half I didn't think Wolves played that badly in truth, and they had a couple of decent chances that they just didn't make the most of. But when you're looking at how the own goal happened as well, you're looking at it and you say, well, that's what happens when you're down the bottom, I suppose. And we've been there, Sunderland have been there plenty of times. We've been there plenty of times in the past where things have just not gone our way, wouldn't just go our way, and everything else. And I was nervous going into Saturday because of how big a game it is. Like, I accepted Man United away. You dust that off. I know Man United compared to what they've been like before. I know they've won the last couple of games, but before then they hadn't won that many. Then to the standard that we expect of Man United, and quite rightly expect of Man United, given the size of the club they are. They're arguably the biggest club in the world, or certainly at least, well, maybe not that much. Real Madrid's there, but certainly for me, they are the biggest club in England, or at the very least, it's very close between them and Liverpool. Even then, despite all of that, though, they're still Man United away. And for a promoting team, we really shouldn't be expected to go there and get anything, I think. So I could dust that one off as long as you get a good result against Wolves. And Man United away, as I've said repeatedly since that game, as disappointing as it was, particularly in the first half with how easy Man United found it, that's not going to define our season. Wolves at home is much more likely to define it. And obviously we started off pretty well when Isidore did put the ball in the back of the net, which was deemed as offside. And originally I thought that it looked quite tight and was maybe the wrong call. But when you actually look at it properly, yeah, he is offside. So no complaints with that. Very good finish, mind. So at least that's good to keep confidence going. And I thought Sunderland's first goal was really, really well worked. Obviously, I think Sam Johnson should do better with the goal. Finish from Nori Mukiele. And then also you got the defending from Wolves, which wasn't particularly good, shall we say. But, I thought the movement was crisp, it was lean, it was slick, it was really filled with purpose. And I think you could tell there was some training ground routines, like Nordi Mukiele combined with who played left back, Trey Hume, puts a great, delicious ball through for him. And then he ends up just slotting it at Sam Johnson. And yes, okay, Sam Johnson, in my opinion, should be saving that, or should at least doing a lot better with it. But I felt it was no more than Sunderland deserved. I felt like we were easily the better side up until that point. I felt like and even the first half an hour, I thought we were really good. I feel like we were the ones putting Wolves under pressure. We were the ones with the control over the game, and I felt like we were the ones that were showing more purpose and to some degree more desire, I would probably say, in that regard. But I also think that it's down to how well we played in the opening 30 minutes as opposed to Wolves being poor, because I felt like we were easily the better side, and I felt like, and I've said before, and I think the Stadium of Light, regardless of the fact we've just been promoted, the Stadium of Light should not be an easy fixture for opposition in this league. Even against the likes of your Liverpools and your Man Cities, I'd expect them to beat us, but I'd expect us to make them work for it. And obviously sometimes there's games where we're just poor and that happens, that's football. But in a general rule of thumb, I believe we should be a really tough game, especially at Sunderland. So obviously the opening half an hour was brilliant. It's arguably the best I've seen us play under Lebris, actually. Certainly in terms of an attacking sort of setup, an attacking sort of style. But yeah, I mean, Wolves obviously came into it at the back end of the first half. And then in the second half, as I said, I think there was a couple of really good chances that they missed, which we did get a bit fortunate with. And then obviously I was down the toilet when I was so bricking it that I needed to go for a number one in the loo. And then while it was happening, obviously the own goal happens, and I hear everyone, and then I hear the crowd shout, "Get in!" I was like, "Oh well, that's good then. At least that's done. I'm not going to be bricking myself constantly." I nearly swore there, but yeah, I'm not going to be absolutely bricking it. So yeah, massive win at the weekend for Sunderland, and I think with the fact we've got Chelsea and Arsenal in two of our next three, and then we've got Everton sandwiched in between that, which is still tough, by the way. With the games we've got coming up now, I felt a draw wouldn't have been a bad result at the weekend, but a win would have been much preferred because of the fact that Wolves are down there. It keeps us 12 points ahead of Wolves. Okay, this weekend Sunderland have Chelsea and Wolves have Burnley at home, which for them, by the way, is a huge monumental game. And I do fancy Wolves to beat Burnley, to be fair, at home. But to say if Wolves win and we lose at Chelsea, which is likely, then it's still 9 points to Wolves. So even then, that's massive in and of itself. And the way I'm kind of looking at it is, these are the sort of games we need to be winning, or at least doing majority of the time doing really well in if we want to be staying up in the Prem this season. And I think, we've had 10 points from our first 4 home games so far. Okay, the 3 wins were against West Ham, Brentford and Wolves. You'd expect them to be down there, but you've still got to go and put in the performance. Bearing in mind, a lot of our team is new and is still gelling together. So it's obviously not a given that they are going to get results. And then the other one was a draw with 10 men against a quality Aston Villa side. Funny that, no easy games, is there? So, and obviously you got a point at Palace, you won away at Forest. Okay, they had Ange, but you still won away at a team with their quality. And so I think we've done really well to get the points tally we have. And the way I'm looking at it now is get to 40 points. And Karl and Doug and everyone, I've said in the group chat, they're sick of me saying this probably, but 40 points, 40 points, 40 points. That's still the aim. And we've got a really tough run of fixtures between now and probably the new year, I would say. When you've got, I think off the top of my head, it's Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal, Fulham, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Man City, Saudi Arabia, then Brighton, and then Leeds. Obviously, even with AFCON, I think that's a game we need to be getting something out of at the very least. And then Man City and then Tottenham. So every fixture's tough. And Leeds itself, by the way, that's not going to be easy either because Leeds have quality as well. So every game's tough in this league. And to get 3 points was massive at the weekend. So the way I'm looking at it now is if you get 26 more points, which is what we need, I'd say another 7 wins out of 30 with a handful of draws should be enough to do it. Particularly if a majority of those wins come in games against Leeds twice, Wolves away, Brentford away, West Ham away, Burnley at home. And those are the 6 games that I'm looking at and I'm going, okay, maybe Forest at home depending on what happens with their Europa League campaign with Dyche being appointed. But no, guys, thank you for having me. Sorry if you've made it to the end of watching me ramble through this. That was really more power to you, to be honest. And yeah, thanks to Karl and Doug for having me. And I'll be back on the Total Horne and Levy podcast. I've forgotten the name of the channel, so Karl, you can roast me for that. I'll be back on Saturday for the Championship review again. And yeah, see you guys all soon. How are the lads?
Thank you very much for Michael for his review on Sunderland's win. And Doug, let's go on to woes at the situation. No points again. Does this feels like what Michael said, that it's just you can see what the performance is when Leeds played against them. is what he's felt, that the same echo that I said a couple of weeks ago about Wolves' style of play, the style of play at the moment under Pereira, with not had enough big signings and lost a lot of players and the ownership. And also, is he not, is Victor Pereira not under pressure despite he signed a new deal just not too long ago?
I think this is what you call jumping the gun and giving a new deal to Vitor Pereira. Look, I think the reason they give a new deal to Vitor Pereira, I think they're kind of now sort of facing the fact that they're probably going to be in a relegation battle. Let's be honest. But that own goal, it's just comical, absolutely comical. Look, obviously, Talby does ever so well to get the ball up to where he was, but um, it's just it's a clearance that goes past Sam Johnston, and I absolutely agree with what Michael said. I think Sam Johnston should do a lot better for that first goal. Fair play to Nordi Mukiele, who I think has to be said has been a very good signing for Sunderland. But Michael will tell you that's not the only Sunderland signing that's been very good this season. So, um, as I said, my main concern with Wolves is where are the points coming from?
Mm,
Because even at home, they don't look great.
no.
Um, and it's all right, sort of winning in the cups, obviously against your likes of obviously West Ham and Everton that they've won in the Carabao Cup. But I am very concerned for them now. Um, I thought when they lost to you guys 3-1, alarm bells were sort of starting to ring out then. Um, Obviously Sunderland's a really tough place to go to, but it's another really bad day at the office for Vitor Pereira's side. And yes, they had their chances. Let's be that bit, but there's a lack of quality I feel in that Wolves side.
Yeah.
Even with Strand Larson in there, Munetsi, it doesn't feel like the Wolves of old, and maybe it might be their time to potentially go down. Who knows? I mean, I obviously changed sort of my predictions at the start of the season, and I forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think I had Burnley, Leeds, and Brentford in the bottom two. That was obviously changed when I had a bit of a sort of a new sort of change of light, really. And I actually think, looking at it, I had Burnley, Wolves, and Brentford. Now, obviously, we will come to Brentford, but feels like we may see two big names in the bottom three this season.
Yeah.
It feels like it, and Wolves could be one of them.
Yeah, I feel like that as well too, Doug. I think it's the matter of time, if not if, but when that is. I think it's a huge concern, but especially the last couple of seasons for Wolves, when they have been down in the mid table since the Nuno left, and they have gone through number of Portuguese managers, including Gary O'Neill in the middle of that as well too. So I think there's a
Yeah.
huge concern going on at Tomorrow completely. There really is.
Well, from Sunderland Wolves to arguably one of the best games of the season, Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3. You could not take your eyes off this game. Bournemouth going into a really early 2-0 lead with goals from Krupi. But that man, Jean-Philippe Mateta, probably three tough chances that he took away. Obviously, the penalty, the one at the back post, and I think there was one where it was fired across goal from Dani Munoz. Now, I'm going to ask you this, Karl. Obviously, Mateta should have buried again to make it 4-3, and that would have been very harsh on Bournemouth. I thought were well worthy of their point. But game of the season for you so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Game of the season with two sides are really good, going well this season in the top six. It was such end to end stuff, and you know, Kupoi, I think he's going to be one of the important players for bottom Bournemouth. He's been a good signing for them since and he scored against Leeds a couple of weeks ago in the 2-2 draw. And like I
Yeah.
said, he got a double again on Saturday at Selhurst Park. I think these two teams are going to be one of those teams we have to keep eye on them when they're battling against each other going forward. Now, with two very good managers, got a very good balanced squad, both the teams. I just thought to myself, I thought to myself, there's not going to be a winner. I think this was always going to be a draw because these two teams are very attacking and they're not going to stop until that final whistle. And Mateta getting the hat trick as well, and you see his confidence in being one of those players that should be bought by a top club this summer, and it's much to Palace's game, to keep him in the squad, and yeah, he's been fantastic. He's been fantastic this season as well. I just think I just think there's no other way of this. Like I said, this is going to be in my game, one of the game of the season at the moment. For now, I think no one can. I think it'll be in the top three at the moment.
It's just been. It was an unbelievable game of football. It was very, very good. As you said, N10. Can I just say, there was an incident in the second half where Mateta is Sarr's going through on goal. Sorry, Ismaila Sarr's going through on goal, and Senesi brings him down. Now, Jared Gillett gave a yellow card to begin with. Now, VAR decided though he should go over to the monitor and actually rethink of his decision. But this is why we want refs to do well. He stuck with his original decision.
Yeah,
I thought it was the correct decision, Karl. I think Sarr is running away from goal ever so slightly, and I think there is a covering defender there. But what did you make of that? What did you make of Jared Gillett basically keeping to his decision? Because I think we want refs to do that, because mostly when we know the ref going to the monitor, we're like, oh, it's going to be like a penalty, or the decision's going to be a red card. But fair play to Jared Gillett, who actually kept with his original decision.
yeah, right. It was a right decision. He was going away from the goal anyway, and it was a right decision to stay with his on-field decision. It's very rare we don't see a lot of managers stay with their decisions completely. Very rare we've seen a lot, but that was the right decision for Jared Gillett completely. And I know some of the fans were not happy with the way it should have been. It should have been. It was a last goal, but there was a defender covering. So, but I think Jago played it well. Looked at really from all sides, and he stuck with his decision altogether. And I think that was, the right thing for him to do. And yeah, and if he overturned that decision and went into red, it would have ruined the game completely. It would have ruined the game completely.
And just one other thing on Crystal Palace. Daniel Munoz, is he the best right back / right wing back in the Premier League right now?
I think a shot with a shadow of doubt, yes. Yeah, he's probably the best wing back we have got in the Premier League this season. I think, he's gone from strength to strength as well since he joined the club a couple of seasons ago. I think him going down the right side with you and Pino on the right sometimes as well. So I think it is the quality. You see the quality there of him being the extra man for for crossing with, especially for set pieces as well. So he's vital for that Palace side.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, game of the season contender, did not disappoint. 6 goals, and yeah, two very, very good managers in Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola, and yeah, 6 goal thriller, which I don't think many people would have predicted. I think people would have probably predicted a sort of a closer game, but yeah, 6 goal thriller, absolutely fantastic game between the two sides. And yeah, a point apiece, and Bournemouth's very impressive run continues.
Absolutely does. It continues. Let's move on to the next game as well as Saturday between the two promoted sides. And uh, go on.
Yeah, how are you feeling about it? Because I've got to be honest, when I saw when because obviously I know Burnley beat Sunderland 2-0 the previous game, but obviously against Sunderland at Turf Moor. But yeah, is were you a bit disappointed with this result?
Yeah, I was very much disappointed with the result, though. I expected us to be a bit more better clinical, and I think the problem was, you could see, where Burnley set up with the 4-3 against us. Okogu, with the head, and someone should have been marked him better to let him, from that cross from Kyle Walker. We could see we were a bit nervous. We did come into the game quite well, but the chances were there. I think Dubravka just Dubravka just was a fantastic keeper for Burnley this past weekend. And I was saying to Dan, our weak spot is going to be the set pieces. I did say to him before we did our match preview last week, I said the set piece is going to be the vital for it first. If we don't set ourselves for like from across a corner, it's going to be vital. And I said that right for that first goal, and then to Konya, what a goal for him in the second half. But there were 5 or so Leeds players within 2-3 yards or so should have marked him before I let him
Yeah.
score that worldie. They should have done better. And I think this was, it was one of the must-win games between both sides. And Dan said it was just a must-win game for him. I said it for ourselves as well on Thursday. It was just disappointed that the result altogether did not, commit to standards, especially the space that we gave for that second goal was amateur. It was so amateur. It should have been dealt with better. And I think now going into the game on Friday against West Ham is a huge game for us because we have to win that game completely. So it's especially now, I thought, we've got some games coming up, especially coming against before the international break. We've got Dyche and not first before the international break as well. So it's question. It's now where we're going to get the results now, especially after this weekend, because we got Brighton after that, and then Forest before the international break, and then after the international break we are against Aston Villa. So we need to get at least 4 to 6 points on the board now to really do so, because like I said, we don't want to be in that bottom 3, but we should have been better prepared, and especially because of not having Nonto there, not having Okafor was injured, and especially playing Jack Harrison, who are still, and I think to myself, why is he still at the club? But it's a
Yeah.
lack of clinical finish for up front that's missing at the moment, and I think this is why the January transfer window needs to come sooner for us.
So, I mean, I look at I looked at the sort of Leeds' sort of lineup. Is there a lack of creativity in this team?
Maybe up front, not in the midfield, just up front. Yes, I would say so. There's a lack of creativity, I would say, at this moment, and I think because when we're not playing, because Joe Peru has not had a lot of games, it's been Karl up front. I think Peru, I can say he's not Premier League worthy at this moment. We know that he's not. He's
Yeah.
far better in the Championship. I think that's the lacking, especially where we're playing at formation, and especially look, with Notto being injured and Africa being injured, Notto should be back this week anyway from his minor injury. So, and also we did we bother bringing Perry back in for instead we kept Darlow and go. It was just I would say there's a bit of missing creativity in this past weekend, which we should have been better at, because that's something we should have done. That we should have got the point against Spurs a couple of weeks ago, and especially losing before the international break, it has affected that bit as well.
Yeah, just a quick one on Burnley. Another very good 3 points for them. Do you think their home form is going to keep them up?
It could do. I think so. I think because Wade Parker's now set himself now, Scott Parker set himself at home now, which is better compared to what Vincent Kompany. He's, I think they have a good decent chance. They have a good decent chance. It's going to be a long season for all the bottom side teams, but I think they have a chance as well. And I think they should have won against Forest, which I'm not gonna lie, they should have won against Forest. The way their form was. But yeah, they got a good chance, and I'm not doubting them at the moment. I can't at the moment. So even I put them down in my bottom 3, it might slightly change over the next couple of weeks as well if they continue a good run of form. Getting results at home.
Yeah, absolutely. But Parker's men get the better of the 2 promoted sides.
Okay, let's go from Turf Moor to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Villa did struggle to start the season, but that's now 5 consecutive wins in all competitions. I suppose the best player on the pitch for me, Karl, Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, I think getting the goal for England the other week, it's really helped him so much, and I think that was it. That was the confidence that he needed, and I think, getting the goal during the international break against Wales was vital for him because there was questions about if he should be in the squad for Villa, but but Emery stuck with him. He's paying dividends off, and he's probably the best player for this game on Sunday. And I think Villa have come away with after a bit of a slow start, they're now on the rise, and I think it's what we need to see. There was questions about with the transfer strategy, with the transfer, they've kept their players a bit too long because some of the players have been there under Dean Smith. But I think they're proving us
Yeah.
wrong in a way, and I think that was a win that they needed at the Tottenham Hotspur at Tottenham this past weekend.
Yeah, but Tottenham again, it seems to be same old problems. Just can't defend at all. And I think as well, when you expect Spurs to go on a run, they get a good result. They get a good result obviously against Leeds, like a couple obviously after before the international break, and then Villa at home, very very sloppy, very very poor.
Yeah.
Is there a concern over Vicario? Now, I know that obviously Donnarumma is definitely number one goalkeeper for Italy for sure, but I've seen Vicario a couple of times this season. I don't think he is as good as he was before he came to Tottenham.
I
Now I'm
think
like
yeah.
kind of looking at it, and I think he's struggling a little bit.
He has been struggling a little bit, though. I think his shot stopping has dwindled quite effectively since he joined the club. It's a huge worry as well. I think of him, of his stance, of his position. His position has worsened a bit since he joined it. I'm surprised they're not going to look at playing Krasinski to replace him for the time being, just to take him out of the starting 11, just to help him, just get his confidence back. I think it's something that Thomas Frank will keep an eye on for the most of the season. That might have to go in January to look for a goalkeeper again, and that will have
Mm.
to happen, because they did that the season before when he was injured. Now I think they will have to look again where whose other goalkeeper will be available to come join in January or next summer if he's going to be part of the plans.
Yeah, absolutely. But another win for Villa, 5 in a row now for them, and yeah, safe to say that they've definitely got started again, which is good to see.
Absolutely. Let's go from Sunday game at Spurs to Monday night game at the London Stadium. What a dreadful performance for West Ham. They lost to Brentford 2-0. And especially the fans before the game, the fans were boycotting the game due to against the current ownership as well. The Breeze had a dominant performance again. With Igor Thiago scored in the second in the first half. Eh, Doug, before we get into Brentford, could West Ham go down this season? Do you think they will go down this season?
Yes, I do. Um, I just I feel sorry for Jared Bowen because the only player in that team that looks like he's got any real quality, and Paqueta's the same as well. They just look so poor, West Ham. Um, I think Jamie Carragher said it very, very well as well. Like he's not seen a team that's like lack athleticism.
Mm.
Like you don't see that very, very often. But I think it's been a lack of poor recruitment. Obviously Nuno's now been there 3 games and he's not won a game yet. And that Leeds West Ham game is already looking absolutely massive. If West Ham were to lose that, I know it's still early in the season, but they look like they could get cut adrift if they're not careful. And again, I don't think the recruitment's been that great this summer. Put it
No.
this way. But Brentford, fantastic performance from them. we we've got them coming up on Saturday, but I've been very impressed with them. Igor Thiago, Kevin Schade, Jordan Henderson in midfield is looking a fantastic player as well, and that leadership is so important as well.
Yeah.
And they've obviously got Kelleher in net as well. So, do you think people may have sort of underestimated Keith Andrews as a manager? Because he is doing well, to be fair to him.
I'm going to put my hand up. I was one of them was underestimate him completely because I thought he could be the first Premier League manager to be sacked, and he has proven me wrong, Doug, every single game. I think Brentford might have got to look at the cards again, and I think, like I said, they've always kept managers in. They've always appointed managers internally, and that's what they've done under Frank, and they did it with Keith Andrews. Now I think they are going to be that team. They're going to punch above for the weight. There was questions about how did they elect Tata from Bournemouth to go from a team that's doing well in the top four, but he's doing quite well. Thiago with his injury last season, I think we're seeing the real Igor Thiago, what he can bring for the bees, and that leadership from John Hens is so vital to replace Christian Norgard. That was a perfect replacement. I think Keith Andrews might surprise. He's going to surprise. I think Brentford are going to be okay this season. I thought I had my doubts at the start of the season. I had them in the bottom three. Slowly now, Doug, they're not in my bottom three predictions now. So it's a huge change,
Yeah.
especially the way they started this season. They've just kept under the radar. Yes, they've lost 1 or 4 games, but they've only been in contentious games pretty much the season as well. I think I don't know what could happen with Brentford, but they're not going to be anywhere near the bottom three this season.
And I'll ask you the same question that you asked me. West Ham, do you think they'll go down this season? Or could go down?
I think they will go down, Doug. I think it's been coming for quite a while. And I think since the move to the London Stadium, I think that club has become a lot more soulless in slow, in a slow ebb, like an ebb way. I think because we had the fans under 30,000 fans, well, 35,000 fans at Upton Park who are passionate and stuff, and you go into like a boutique stadium of 66,000, and you don't you hear the song for blowing bubbles, and after that it's dead. And I think the fans have
It's not a great stadium, is it?
No, the fans have stood up with their feet and said enough's enough. And I think there's questions now, especially, I think that, that I can see them next season playing Preston at London Stadium under half the capacity next season, the way things are going at the moment. It's just, it's so disappointing for a club who want to be ambitious to try to challenge with the top half of the table, and they haven't been. And I think under, the Gold family and David Sullivan and Karen Brady, it's not good enough. And I think there's something has to change at the club because especially when you have like a mid 70-year-old man running not just the chairman but also in charge of the transfers. That is baffling, and he should, especially I saw a picture of him there, him and his son there, his son Jack, yesterday, last night. It just looks so soulless. It's like they just couldn't believe what they're watching. Like, this has been going for you for the last 15 years since you bought the club in 2010, and something has to change.
Yeah, 100%. If West Ham do go down, could you see that GSB leaving West Ham and trying to sell them?
I think they will. There will be no doubt. I think they will, especially if they've got the Czech billionaire, who owns the Royal Mail. I think they will sell to him because he's got more of the funding, and he did increase his stake a couple of seasons ago. I would not be surprised if they decide if they get on they sell it to the Czech billionaire. I think it would Daniel Krasinski. I think it would not be surprised as well. It won't be surprising at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but again, that rounds off another very, very interesting week in the Premier League, and now we go to the table.
Absolutely, let's take it away.
Yeah, Arsenal lead 3 points against Manchester City, who sit second. Bournemouth third. A very, very impressive start to their season. Champions Liverpool down to fourth, or Chelsea are fifth. Tottenham, Sunderland both on 14 points. Sunderland have had a really good start to the season. There is Crystal Palace with 13. Manchester United up to ninth as well. Brighton and Aston Villa the top half, and we move into the rest of the table. And the bottom, it is Wolves, West Ham, and Nottingham Forest, with Burnley, Leeds, Fulham just above them, and also Newcastle struggling for points, not been a very good start to their season so far. Brentford going up a couple of places as well to 13th.
Yes, that is all the review from game week 8. Thank you very much, Doug. As usual, you can find Doug at the Dugout Football channel on YouTube as well. You can find me at the Total Levy Hall Football Podcast on YouTube as well too. As I said, we'll be back on hopefully, but they're doing no session next week as well. There's no Monday Night Football next week, so it gives us a bit of flexibility because it's the Carabao Cup. But like I said, I'll be back on this weekend on Saturday to do the Saturday show at 11 a.m. And I should be back on this weekend on Sunday as well to do the championship review with myself, Annie, and Michael at 8 p.m. Doug, what about yourself for this week coming up?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. Obviously, I've got my Premier League predictions to do for match week 9. I've got a Brentford Liverpool preview coming up very, very soon as well. And yeah, it'll be a few wee videos here and there. So yeah, just keep an eye out for sure. But thank you to everyone who keeps watching this podcast. Glad me and Karl can bring it to you every single week when we can. And another fascinating week ahead of obviously Champions League football and Premier League football as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for everyone for watching. We'll see you again next time. For now, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from and it's goodbye from him.